How are you, my internet family, and welcome back for another video brought to you by Oatly Chocolate Milk. I'm not sponsored, I'm just addicted and I needed a little bit of something to get me through this video. If my eyes look a little bit bloodshot, it's because this was a little bit of a hard video for me to plan and a difficult subject for me to think about. I could have done what's seen it in the past when I was blind to a lot of toxicness in my life, and there are just some subjects where a cup of tea ain't going to be cutting it. So we've got some dairy-free chocolate milk and I am gonna do this. I don't have my fancy video set up because I'm staying with my boyfriend in Spain in his pilot campus again. But yeah, many of us experience really unhealthy, negative relationships in our lives, and it can feel impossible to escape them because a lot of the time we don't even know that we're in one. When you've experienced toxic relationships several times, like I have with, family and friends and relationships, like romantic ones, you can see a pattern though, and you can get out of this stupid, vicious loop, I promise. From backstabbing work friends to meddling siblings to controlling and jealous partners. Ultimately, we are in control of how we react to the people and the events in our lives. Firstly, I want to say that this video isn't about, looking at toxic people in our lives and being like, you're the problem. It's not about judging people who are like this. None of us are perfect. And that's the wonderful thing about healthy relationships. We all come with flaws and insecurities and issues and wounds from previous relationships. The whole point of dating is finding a partner who is a teammate to experience life with. They're also imperfect and you can enable them to become their best self. You can solve problems together. But so many people nowadays especially are not in healthy relationships at all. The foundations of any healthy relationship, it can be a parent's child, like siblings, a marriage. They're most commonly established upon mutual admiration and respect, but can, in time, become extremely unhealthy to the point that the relationship ruins your life experience and your productivity and your happiness levels and everything. And bleh. A really poisonous atmosphere distinguishes a toxic relationship from a not so great relationship. It's not all bad relationships are toxic per se. And before I go into this video, I just want to ask you to listen carefully until the end and let me know in a comment with a green love heart if you have experienced or are currently experiencing a toxic relationship with someone in your life. Another important thing is that sometimes there's no one necessarily to blame for the toxicity in a relationship. It can just be caused by the inability to communicate between two people. It can be caused by clashing personality types, but often certain types of people target and prey upon other types of people. Some seek to psychologically and emotionally dehydrate others. These people are manipulative and a lot of the time they're not even aware of their own toxicity. They may be very charming and confident, but also self-absorbed and completely focused on their own emotions and needs and goals, so much so that they're unaware of or just don't care about other people's needs. So I will outline some signs that you're involved with someone like this, but also look inward when I'm saying these things, because I don't know, if any of these things resonate with you, if you feel like you're like this, it'd be really worth seeking professional help. Because I feel like after dating a really toxic person and experiencing a very toxic relationship, I then carried that into my next relationship and I had to get quite a bit of help for it. So yeah, listen to me, babies. I've been there. So many of us fall into relationships where the other person isn't there to try and make our lives better. They're there to inflict damage upon us. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's someone in school or college. Maybe it's a boyfriend. An example, maybe you're doing something that makes this other person feel insecure, like you're going on a night out with your friends, and maybe this other person, feeling either left out or jealous or whatever it is, doesn't come to you with that vulnerability and say, hey, I'm jealous or whatever it is, and instead they'll look to one-up you and they'll look to try and make you even more insecure than you made them so they win, that kind of thing. It's all about dragging you down. I need a bit of chocolate milk. This is going to get serious. Real serious. So Another thing, they won't be happy when you do well. They won't be happy about your successes. They'll be intimidated by them. And I've experienced this a lot, and I feel like I cut people out based upon this sometimes. If someone is unhappy about me succeeding, I'm always thinking like, does this person really deserve a spot in my life? Does this person deserve my time and energy? No, because when I love people, I want to see them reach their full potential. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you achieve something, like you get a promotion in work or whatever, and you go home and you tell them, and they may do one of two things. They might like go really quiet and brush it off and change the subject and stuff like that. Or they might like start picking faults with it and just trying to like tarnish the whole thing for you, because they want to bring you back down. They prefer it when you're weak. People like this cannot take constructive criticism. So if you come to them with an issue that you're having with them as a person or whatever, they'll answer it with aggression, you know. And this may make you afraid to bring problems up with them in the future, which is so bad. It's like a weird way of them manipulating and controlling the entire relationship to have you walking on eggshells around them all the time, and it's awful. People like this also may act like you're the root of all evil and all problems are your fault, and they can even have you believing this. Like they might have you apologizing for things that you didn't even do, and like regardless of how strong your confidence is, these little comments will penetrate your bubble over time. They will, because we become most like the people we spend the most time around. That's why they say we become our peer group. Your core circle of people is so important to the person that you will become. And that's why they always say to pick good people to spend your time with. So yeah, if there's a toxic relationship within your family, your immediate family, or if you've married into one, it can be really difficult to see or realize what's going on, you know. And toxic people often show you the most love when you're at your lowest, when you're really hurting, you know, and this can make it really difficult to leave. Man, like I remember finding it so hard to leave toxic situations in the past because I'd want the other person's love or approval or whatever it was so desperately and so badly that I'd be on my knees crying and apologizing for things I hadn't even done because they'd have me so wrapped, you know. As soon as they'd show me the love that I wanted, I'd mentally wash away all the bad that they'd done, all the weeks of mind games, and I was just like a mouse running to cheese in a mouse trap. And a lot of the time I try and justify the behaviour. I know a lot of you will be thinking right now about situations where you've done this. If you're justifying bad behaviour, you really have to analyse the situation, guys, because I know, especially if you're obsessing over this other person's actions or their words and what they mean. And, you know, one tip that I found really helpful that I read in a book is to make a kind of internal observer within your own mind. Formulate this kind of character in your head who's someone who'll always see the situation in an objective way, as if they're standing over there. So say one of your good friends like comes to you with a relationship issue and like what you're going through, what advice would you give them? You have to be honest with yourself, because if you're not, and if you're ignoring lots of warning signs and walking by red flags, you're going to get yourself into a situation where you just won't be able to enjoy life. You won't be able to feel good. You know, you'd be shocked if you read up about the gut and, you know, gut feelings. You hear people talking about, oh, I have a gut feeling or whatever, and how important it is to your happiness levels that you can trust your own judgment and trust your own decision making. It's huge, and it's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my 20s. I've written down some questions that it's important for you guys to ask yourselves if you think you're in a toxic relationship. Do I feel safe around this person? How do they actually make me feel? Honestly. And answer these questions. Like, you can do it in the comments if you want. Do I feel on guard or off around them all the time? Do they add unnecessary challenges to my life? Do I feel emotionally drained after dealing with this person? Do they cause me emotional distress? And some signs that you're likely to date a toxic person, because perhaps you're vulnerable right now. And I know in the past when I've gone for quite toxic people, it has been when I'm kind of like at a low point. So it's just easier, like it infiltrates me easier, their bullshit, you know. A is you think they are the love of your life straight away when you don't even really know them. So like, you know, you idealize them, you have them on this big pedestal and you think their shite doesn't stink. B is you neglect other people in your life to please them. So you'll cancel family plans to be somewhere when they ask you to be there at the drop of a hat. Like they ask you last minute as an afterthought and you just like go running. Oh, past Melanie, have some goddamn standards. C, they might not want to meet other people in your life and you act like you're fine with it when you're obviously not. And you're wondering, why do you not want to be involved with my friends and family? Why do you want to hide me from your life? D is you get crazy jealous over every single little thing. And I'm not just saying like, you know, normal jealousy. Like there is a healthy level of jealousy, but when actually when it's the other way around as well and they get crazy jealous over everything, like that's just really, really, really unhealthy. Your entire mood depends on them. One little word from them and you are just crumbling and falling apart, or vice versa. And if after all this you think you are in a toxic relationship, you have some big decisions to make on it. And I know how hard these decisions can be. I kept getting back with the next when I knew it had to end. Deep down, I knew it had to end. It was so bad for both of us. And I kept hanging out with a certain friend because I was afraid of not having her around anymore. And I didn't really have anyone else to talk to at the time. The worst one is 3 years ago around, I missed a really important operation that my dad had because the person I was dating was an American YouTuber and he had me kind of so convinced that I'd be abandoning him in a time of need if I went home, and he made sure that I knew that he could replace me in a second, tearing at my confidence, and he manipulated me so fucking bad. And I was ashamed at how much I allowed him to affect me and my choices. But now I'm kind of realizing there's no need to be ashamed. It was a learning curve for me, that and a lot of you guys are probably going through that, and I don't want you to be ashamed either. You know, it's so easy for us to guilt trip ourselves, but we can't. This is what life is all about. It's all about learning about how to be better. Ask yourself, are you willing to succumb to the negativity of the relationship that you are in? Are you willing to endure the stress of it and all of the health effects that stress can cause your physical and mental health? If it's family or a co-worker or a friendship that you want to keep, ask, how can I return this relationship to health and happiness? Like, can that be done at all? What are you willing to sacrifice if the other person isn't willing to seek out help to get to a better place so that you can both be in that better place together? Are you willing to sacrifice your own well-being? Because that's what you're doing by allowing it to be a big part of your life. It's a really tough call sometimes because, you know, every situation's different and you might feel the need to maintain a connection. Like, what if you're having this experience with one friend and they're connected to an entire friend group? It's very difficult. Any healthy relationship involves intent and purpose and discipline, work, desire, you know. And if this toxic relationship was healthy at one point in the past, it's likely it can go back to that with work, you know. But if it was never healthy to begin with, I just feel like you got to cut and run. And that's hard to do without help from professionals, particularly if you are involved in a codependent relationship. Codependent people are very, very reliant on their partner and are terrified of being abandoned by them. So they're willing to put up with almost anything in order to feel safe. Any kind of level of bullshit. They're willing to be with someone who doesn't meet their needs, to be with someone who doesn't want the same things in life as them. Like, say, you want kids, they don't want kids. And your brain convinces you, oh, well, you don't need kids. You need this person to stick around. It happens so much. And, you know, that can start with childhood trauma. I've been there trying to make things work that just wouldn't work. And it's just wonderful to be in a situation that does fucking work. And I can really, I've been really analysing my past and looking at a lot of this shit. And that's why when a lot of you ask me to talk about subjects like this, like, now I'm feeling a little bit more in a position to do that. So yeah, it's hard to see what's best for yourself when you're invested in a relationship. You can start to lose yourself and forget to make your happiness a priority. And that's really sad. It's not always easy to remember who you are, what you want. What it boils down to, I think, is that sometimes the pain of being in a relationship, dealing with that is less intimidating than the perceived pain of leaving the relationship, of letting go of that person in your life. Some relationships run their course, and admitting that is hard. A lot of us are afraid of change in life. But I swear to you, with time and distance, you can look back and see how bad that relationship was for you when you're in a happier place. And it's like, but when you're in it, it's very different. Before I finish my chocolate milk and leave yous, here's a quick fire round of things, signs to look out for. Passive aggression. You can't seem to do anything right. Criticism. Arguing without actually communicating. Jealousy and blame. When you don't feel like yourself. When you avoid each other a lot. When there's negative energy in the air. When all you can think about is making them happy and pleasing them. And when growth and change are seen as negatives. Because we all know that's a load of shit. And yeah. That was my video. I can hear people out in the hall. There's so many pilots in this campus. And some of them know I'm a YouTuber. And it's so cringy. Oh my God. Leave a comment, and my next video will be my next monthly vlog. I'll see you soon, guys.